so my name's Leo and I've had a lot of people ask me whether they should do the IB instead of the A-levels or the American diploma, so I've decided to make a video which outlines the pros and cons of doing the IB. So I'm going to try and cover this topic as succinctly and as easy as possible. I have also done my research, so if you look in the description box below you will find links that could be helpful to you as well. So for those who aren't familiar with the IB, the International Baccalaureate is a 2-year course that's well reputed and well recognized around the world, and you basically have to do 6 different subjects, each from different groups. You have mathematics, humanities, etc., as well as a 4,000-word essay, CAS, and a theory of knowledge course. I'm not going to go really in depth because it's very complicated. So yes, I mean, basically many people are curious as to whether doing the IB, which is often considered more difficult than A-levels, for example, is actually worth doing. So to answer this question, you first have to consider 4 main factors. So the first one is assessing your strengths, your abilities, and your passions. The second one is your career aspirations, so what you want to do when you're older. The third one is what you want to study at uni, if you want to study at uni. And lastly, where you want to study at uni. So all these factors are interlinked, and knowing or not knowing the answer to them is really important in determining whether the IB is worth it financially and also the time and the work you invest doing it. So firstly, ask yourself, what are you good at and what do you love doing? What are your strengths, or do you have anything in particular that you just really love? Or are you strong in multiple fields? Like, do you just love academia in general like I do? Even knowing that you really don't like school is important, because obviously lots of people don't, and that's fine regardless of society's way of deeming people who don't like school as unintelligent. You know, intelligence itself is something which is much broader than just being good at mathematics, and you should really always keep that in mind. Knowing all of this is crucial in the decision you make. So this is interlinked with the second and third factor, your career aspirations and what you want to study at uni. If you want to be a mathematician or a doctor or a graphic designer, that's fantastic, you know what you want. If you have no bloody clue what you want to do, well, that's equally as fantastic. Here is why. So, the primary difference between the IB and the A-levels is that while in the A-levels you're obliged to study a minimum of 3 subjects, in the IB you actually have to do 6, plus a load of additional stuff, but all sorts of subjects. And this can be an advantage or a disadvantage depending on your career aspirations and your strengths. So imagine you want to be a mathematician. Would you rather study maths, further maths and physics in your last 2 years of school, or have to deal with a whole load of other subjects you really hate, such as English or French? Putting in considerations that all those extra subjects you have to study could actually be wasting your time where you could be actually working on something you really like, you really enjoy, and you actually need for your future. So for someone who is extremely maths oriented, this is why I would recommend doing the A-levels instead of the IB. Not necessarily because the A-levels go into more depth than the IB, because that is actually a myth, but because they can concentrate on the 3 subjects that they really enjoy, knowing that they're going to pursue those subjects at university. But going back to the whole breadth and depth thing, a lot of people think that the IB goes more into breadth than depth compared to A-levels. The truth is that the IB goes to both breadth and depth. So you do a lot of subjects and you study them in depth. IB high-level maths is actually just as difficult as A-level maths, and I actually knew someone who was doing IB high-level maths saying that the work she was doing was actually harder than what her friend was doing at A-levels. Of course this depends on the subject, but theoretically an IB HL subject is equivalent to an A-level subject. So again, you want to be a doctor? Well, A-levels allow you to do chemistry, biology and physics all at the same time, while what sucks with the IB is that they only allow you to do 2 sciences at a time, since you replace one of your art subjects, so the group 6 subjects, with a science. So again, for many people who want to go on a medical route, the IB is not really ideal for them because of this reason. So a lot of people have always known what they want to do in the future, and the benefit of doing the A-levels is that it can actually specialize you much earlier into the field you want. And I'd say that is one of the most important arguments if you're considering whether taking the IB or the A-levels. So what if you have exactly no idea what you want to do? Well, that's completely fine. So many people are in your position. Obviously, knowing does make things easier, so I would suggest that you go on university websites, you check out all the courses. There are also aptitude tests you can take that assess your abilities and try to find an area in which you would be interested in and you would be good at the same time. More often than not, however, choosing the course you want to study or what you want to do when you're older isn't easy, and doing the IB allows you to study a whole range of traditional subjects where you're not required to specialize directly like you would in the A-levels. I can't stress enough that at the end of the day, doing the IB or doing the A-levels, it really depends on your profile, who you are as a person, what you're good at and what you like, and you have to really put all these factors in consideration when you choose. Because for some people, doing the IB is just perfect for them, while others doing the A-levels is absolutely perfect for them. The last primary factor that I want to discuss is where you go to university. Now, this is so important because depending on where it's located, both within a country or in different countries, they all have different requirements. When it comes to academics, most notably the UK just wants your predicted grades. Well, if you go to college in the US, they'll really want a transcript of your entire high school academic journey. So they want to see whether you've improved, whether you've been very consistent throughout the years. And while some unis want high grades, others just really want specific subjects. So at the end of the day, it's your job to find out what the unis you want to go to want. What helps so much is actually calling up the universities themselves. So I know this can be dreadful for a lot of people and a little daunting as well, but honestly it helps so much. Before I started the IB, so I was about 16, I actually called up about 15 different universities in the UK because I was confused as to whether I should do math studies or math standard level, and since I wanted to do law, obviously math is completely irrelevant to law. Well, not completely irrelevant, but you know what I mean. And so I asked them about their preferences, and at the end they said that they just didn't care whatsoever about the maths course that I took. So I thought to myself, why should I waste 2 years of my life doing a more difficult maths course that I probably won't get a good grade in, when I could just be doing math studies, having loads of fun and getting a 7? Not only that, but more often than not, the admissions officers are so nice. So when I called up the University of Warwick, I fell upon this lady who was just amazing. And I mean, we ended up going completely off topic, and she gave me loads of tips on my personal statement and how I can improve it. So yeah, I really recommend you actually get in touch with the universities, whether it be by email or by phone call, and then you'll know exactly what they want and you know what to expect. I think it's also important to mention that the IB can benefit you a lot in terms of your academic capabilities, because a lot of the time it's not that the work is necessarily more difficult, but it's just the volume of work there is. So to be able to succeed in the IB, you really need to keep a consistent work ethic throughout the entire 2 years. The amount of work you have to do that count as internal assessments is huge, and they really play a great deal in getting a good grade in the IB. So, I mean, it's important to cultivate a really consistent academic level throughout the entire program, while for the A-levels, there's just really one hurdle, which is those exams at the end. This is why the IB can be really good, because it helps you to cultivate a really good work ethic, which is invaluable in the work life. And with all the additional subjects you study with the IB, a lot of them can actually come in handy in the future. So I mean, math studies, for example, they really focus on problems that you would use in real life, and this can actually help you. And also, learning an additional language is so important in today's society. It has become so international, and a lot of countries such as the United States or the UK have really abysmal language capabilities. So I mean, I think the average number of languages in the UK is 1.7, which really isn't ideal, and the IB is good where you can actually learn an additional language, and this really comes useful in the future. So to synthesize everything that I've just said, more often than not, I really would recommend the IB, but at the end of the day, it really depends on your future plans and on who you are, what you want, what you like doing, and the course you want to study. Also keeping in mind that when you do A-levels, often you are also closing more doors than you are opening them. So yes, I hope this video helped you make decisions concerning the IB. I mean, I think the IB honestly is a great program and it really helps you stand out in the really competitive world we live in today. I wish you the best of luck and lots of love. And yeah, that's it. See you later. Bye.